express our heartfelt thanks to IPM Group of Institution. I would like to express my sincere gratitude to our esteemed founder of IPM Group of Institution, late Dr. B.S. Goyal. He was legend for us, and his vision to motivate us for enrich the knowledge in research area. This is one of the leading institutions in which seminar, webinar, and conferences are the part of the curriculum. All the members of this organization, faculty, as well as students, we have doing such activities in the past and would carry in future also. Now, it is a time of IPM glimpse. I take this privilege to warm welcome Mr. Anupam Goyal, Secretary of IPM Group of Institution, Dr. Sugandha Goyal, Executive Director of IPM Group of Institution, Colonel Dr. A.S. Malhotra, Director General of IPM Group of Institution, Mr. Shashank Chaudhary, Dean Academics of IPM Group of Institution, Mr. Naveen Kumar, Head of Department of Computer Application. A very special thanks to you all for gracing this special occasion with your esteemed presence. I would like to invite the Professor Dr. Rakesh Kumar Galav, currently working in the Institute of Engineering and Technology, Department of Computer Engineering and Application, G.L.A. University, Mathura. He has wide research area in the field of mobile ad hoc network and underwater wireless sensor network. He has published many articles and research papers in peer-reviewed journals and conferences in area of wireless network. So I welcome you, sir, to share some knowledge with us. Galav, sir.
Thanks, Ms. Anita, introducing me to the audience. And thanks the organizer to give me the opportunity to share my thoughts. So please kindly give me the permission to share my slides.
Sir, yes. Sir, you will share the screen, please.
Okay. Is it visible?
Yes, sir, yes.
My slides are visible or not?
Yes, sir, yes. Sir, visible, sir.
Yes, sir, visible.
I think it is visible.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Thanks again to the organizer to giving me an opportunity to share my thoughts on a topic: trust-based immune system for secure communication in wireless network. Basically, my talk is bounded to the wireless network which are ad hoc in nature, because in wireless network which is infrastructure based, we have many concepts to provide the secure communication, because infrastructure maybe help to provide the security to the communication in infrastructure based system. That's why my talk is basically concerned regarding the ad hoc networks, which basically works in wireless mode. These are the outline of my talk. Introduction: security threats on wireless networks, security mechanisms used to secure network, what is the need of trust management, what is trust management process, how we can compute the trust using various methods, and then in last conclusive remarks. So basically, what is wireless network? It is basically a network of nodes which communicate through radio frequency or in any other mode such as sound waves. So wireless networks are more popular solution for homes, business, telecommunication networks. There are two types of wireless network, categorized in two types. First is infrastructure based and second is infrastructure less. Infrastructure based means the whole network is first, basically topologies are designed, then network is established. Whenever we talk infrastructure less network means there is no topological solution available to provide a network. The network is basically contains self motivated nodes to communicate to each other. So infrastructure less network means each node is act as a router, a network connection distributing among the nodes. In ad hoc network, the formation of network takes place dynamically with the help of collaboration of random nodes. Actually, whenever we talk about ad hoc networks, so ad hoc, the meaning of ad hoc, basically we use that ad hoc means that each and everything is ad hoc. There is no infrastructure, there is no topology, but the real meaning of ad hoc is basically a purpose. If for what purpose we basically design a network, so means ad hoc network means a network designed for a specific purpose, such as video network, video surveillance network. Video surveillance network means whenever we design a network which capture the activities and basically share these activities to some processing nodes. So ad hoc means is basically not a network which is purposeless or only infrastructure less. It is basically designed for a specific purpose, such as sensor network, which is designed to sense some data. Just a temperature based sensor network, it is specifically designed to sense temperature on a different locations. So these type of network basically consider MANET. Sorry. So there are some characteristics of MANET, such as no fixed infrastructure, because each and every node are independent to each other, and these nodes basically provide dynamic topology connect for a purpose. Dynamic changing topology is another characteristic of MANET. Means each and every nodes which basically we use in MANET are mobile nodes which can join or leave network randomly, which basically create some assumption that we not use any fixed type of topology concept. Energy constraint, because all nodes are mobile devices, battery operated devices, the movement and the communication both are energy driven process. That's why the energy constraint is always there in MANET. Limited bandwidth means the range of communication is very low. Each node also serves as router, means at a single time nodes perform multiple type of tasks such as receiving data from another nodes to forward it to another node or process some data. So these all activities comes under a single nodes, which is also energy constraint. Interoperation with the internet. Sometimes we basically connect the network with internet also to communicate this sense or capture data to any other base stations. These are some type of MANETs: wireless sensor networks, flying area networks, vehicular ad hoc networks, body area network, and underwater network. These are some security requirements for MANET. So first is such as availability. Availability is these more concern in case of MANET because the whole network is on mobile devices. So there is more chances that whenever we want to communicate to any node, the locality or location of that node is frequently changed. So what type of concept basically we use to ensure that to communicate any data from one node to another node, forwarders are available to forward our data. So this availability is major concern in case of MANET communication. Next is authorization and key management. We basically use random nodes to create a network, and these random nodes having different properties. So we require some authorization or key management procedure to authenticate these nodes, that these nodes are not malicious, and provide the confirm that these nodes are not malicious and utilized for data communication also. Next, data confidentiality. Data confidentiality means the privacy of data. So basically, we use open frequency webs for communicating data. So what type of privacy concept we use to communicate data? Next, data integrity. Maybe some malicious node is act as a man in middle, and some data are changed during the communication. Wrong reputation means there is no identification of nodes. So whenever there is no identification, we cannot ensure that this data is basically communicated by the authorized nodes only. So for these security requirements, basically we design some security mechanisms which provide all of these requirements to the MANET. Then these are some potential threats in MANETs. First is such as spoofing attack. Spoofing means the false information about nodes location by spoofed signal. Whenever we want to communicate any data from one location to another, we basically use some forwarder. So there is some malicious node which provide fake location of any node to consume data and not forward it to the receiver. Second is jamming attack, which is basically jamming means whole data which are basically received by any node to communicate to the designated receiver is jammed at the single node. No data is forwarded to next. Sorry, please, 1 minute only.
It's okay, sir. Please carry on.
Sorry for interruption. Basically, jamming means one node is basically capture all data and not forward any data package to the forwarder or receiver. So that's why the source is basically assuming that my data is communicated to the receiver, but one malicious node in network is basically drop each and every packet that are received by malicious node so that the packet are not forwarded to the designated receiver. And the same type of concept is basically used in main and middle attack. When live data can be captured by the attacker, the only difference between jamming attack and main and middle attack is that whenever we basically use main in, whenever any attacker is used main in middle attack, that maybe the objective of the attacker is only to capture the information from the packets and forwarded it to the designated receiver after basically taking the required information which is available in the packets. But in case of jamming attack, the whole data is dropped or whole data packets are dropped by the malicious node. Then next potential threat is wormhole attack, in which record packets at one place in the network and tunnel them to another place and retransmit them. Basically, any malicious node which is act as a forwarder, record all packets which have been received by this malicious node, and beside the forwarding these packets to the designated receiver, these packets are basically retransmitted to another location. Sources assume that my data is received on receiver, but data is received by another node of the network. The similar type of attack is Sybil attack, which is when a node uses multiple identities to pretend as a multiple nodes in the network. Means a single node basically provide a multiple identities, and multiple source are basically identify this malicious node as the forwarder and send data packets to this node. Sniffing means simply monitor and capture the data which is basically in communication mode through the neighbor's node. Means whole data which is basically forwarded by any neighbor or proximity nodes are monitored and captured. Then next is gray hole attack. When in gray hole attack, packets are dropped for a specific target node. Means all packets are basically received by malicious node, and without forwarding this packet to the designated receiver, the malicious node is basically drop these packet after a certain time period or randomly. Maybe if the malicious node receive 10 packets, then it can forward 4 to 5 packets to the receiver, and maybe 4 or 5 packets are dropped. That's why it's known as gray hole. Then next, black hole attack. Black hole attack means discard incoming and outgoing networks packet without knowledge of source. Means whenever any packet is received by malicious node, these packets are discarded, and discarded means dropped, and these packets are not, the information of this dropping of packets are not coming to the source. That's why source is not retransmitted this packet, and whole communication is basically top down. The next attack is sinkhole attack. Sinkhole attack is basically a single malicious node is basically advertise himself as a good forwarder, so that each and every source is basically send the packet to this advertised node. So this node is basically act as a sinkhole, means each and every packet is basically comes to this malicious node, and after that it is depend on application that these packets are only captured or dropped or forwarded to the destination or not. But only the basic objective of this attack is to advertise a node as a good forwarder. That's why all sources is basically use this node as a forwarder. Next is energy drain attack. Energy drain attack means some nodes in the network basically generate a fake and large amount of data in the network to communicate, and each and every forwarder when forward or process this data within a single time limit, then the energy of that node are drained rapidly, and the whole network is basically dropped down after a certain period of time. Then next is bad mounting attack. Bad mounting means it is basically similar to the sinkhole attack. In this, node is basically advertised regarding any other node that this node is this node is good for forwarding data packets, or this node is bad for data forwarding. After advertising the trust value of any neighbor node, it can basically move the whole communication traffic to in another direction. So whenever this communication is basically moved to another direction, then a single direction nodes are utilized more in comparison to another direction nodes, and drain battery rapidly. It also basically drop down the network lifetime, and in future maybe the network is completely dropped. And next and last, not last, but in my discussion, next is packet injection. An attacker can inject a packet with false or malicious data, means as the malicious node act as a source and generate some false and malicious data and communicate throughout the network, which maybe in future hurt our network communication base. So these are basic potential threats. There are other potential attack also, but in my discussion, these are basically considerable attacks. We have to design any mechanism to provide a solution to these threats. These are some security mechanisms which are used to provide the security in minutes. Maybe some person is raised hand, but I'm not recognize that person.
Hello.
If you have any query, to please type in chat window.
You will send your queries on the chat. The
So
speaker
these
will
are some security mechanisms which are basically considered to provide the security to the mainnet. The first is PKI, public key infrastructure. Then pre-shared key means symmetric key-based infrastructure and system for detecting and preventing intrusions, behavior-based trust, reputation management, data authentication and integrity, energy efficient trust mechanism, and privacy preserving trust. So what is the meaning of public key infrastructure? In public key infrastructure, a digital certificate are issued to each and every sensor nodes or any mobile nodes by any reputed certificate authorities. On the basis of these certificates, node can confirm the legitimacy and identity of other nodes. In WSN, PKI offer a solid framework for secure communication and authentication. But in real-time scenario, whenever our network is basically established for such a purpose, which is basically sends data for a longer period of time, then this concept is okay, because for a shorter period of time, we cannot provide such type of infrastructure that each and every node identity, we can identify each and every node and provide identification certificate to each and every node at the time of formation of network. That's why for a random generated minutes, this concept is not basically suitable. The next is pre-shared keys, means there are two concepts used in providing privacy of data. The one is public key crypto system, and second is shared key or symmetric key crypto system. As maybe we all know that the public key crypto system is more secure than symmetric key crypto system, but it's need lots of processing and required lot of energy to compute any key identification or privacy data. That's why in general, we basically use symmetric key concept for providing privacy to the data at the time of communication. But in symmetric key concept, whenever one only single key is utilized to encrypt or decrypt data, then so that this key is this key have to be shared among all the participants of the communication. So that's why this is a unsecure mechanism in case of our sensor node or manet case, because we use some random nodes at the time of communication, and these some random nodes are not capable or not secure to provide the symmetric key concept. But whenever we use some network for a longer period of time, then we can use this concept before deployment of any node or design a network. We basically share a single symmetric key to all the nodes, and all future communication will be done based on this shared key. The next is system for detecting, preventing intrusion. Such type of solution is basically suitable for wired network, because in wired network we basically use firewall type of concept, which can easily monitor network traffic and prevent some intrusion activities. But in case of wireless, it is more problematic, because there is no single centralized concept which can monitor the transmitted data. That's why it is not more suitable in case of wireless network. Then behavior-based trust means whenever we use basically random nodes. Random nodes means there is no information regarding there is no availability of information, these nodes are trusted or not. So in such cases, basically trust management play a key role. And trust management is based on different type of techniques, such as behavior-based trust, in which nodes monitor their neighbors' behavior by keeping track of things like packet forwarding, message integrity, protocol observance. Packet forwarding means how much packet it basically received and forwarded to another node. If the ratio of packet drop is high, so we basically consider this node as an untrusted node. So then second is message integrity check. Integrity check means what the message is received by any node, it is forwarded as it is, or there is any alteration at the time of processing. So these behavior is basically examined by neighbors node, and on the basis of these behavior analysis, we basically compute the trust level of any forwarder as a trusted or non-trusted nodes. Then reputation management, it is also another concept which is used in trust management. Based on previous encounters, sensor nodes keep reputation score of their peers. Node with high reputation score is treated as reliable or trusted, and nodes with lower value of reputation is act as a malicious. And this is nothing. It is parametric evaluation that, for example, if we communicate to anyone and we get a quick response from him, so means it is reliable person. So such type of parameter we basically identified, and on basis of these identified parameters, we compute the reputation of any node, and this reputation is utilized to compute the trustworthiness of the neighbors nodes. Then next is data authentication and integrity. So data packets can be digitally signed to guarantee that validity and integrity of the data they contain. So for integrity purpose, we basically use digital signature concept. And digital signature is a concept which is basically utilized for authentication as well as integrity. But a random network or the specific purpose network, it is a costly matter to provide this digital signature concept. In costly in terms of energy, in terms of time, in terms of in terms of processing time, because each and every digitally signed, each and every node which received any data process this digital signature, which consume processing time. It's basically overall increase the delay of communication. That's why it is not more suitable for the wireless network. Then next is energy efficient trust mechanism. Means it is trust mechanism which is based on some parameter utilized for energy to provide the energy efficiency. So some parameters are based on behavior, some parameters are based on energy. So whenever we only consider energy aware parameters, then this concept is known as energy efficient trust mechanism. Normally, whenever we use this trust mechanism, we basically use the mixing of these all type of concepts such as reputation based, behavior based, energy based. These all parameters are basically utilized and compute the trust on each and every parameter if we want to provide more secure environment. This is privacy preserving trust. In this privacy preserving means we basically consider the parameters which is utilized to provide the data privacy. Means whenever we basically compute the trust, there are two entities utilized in computation of trust. One is data and second is node. So whenever we consider data as an entity, then this type of concept is utilized, privacy preserving trust. So what is need of trust management? Because first of all, whenever we use any network for communication, so our more focus is on two layers. First is application and second is network. Application, we basically consider, whenever we consider security, then these two layers play a very important role. First is application layer and second is network layer. Application layer to provide the privacy of data. Whenever any data communicated to another node or to any designated receiver, it is basically encrypted. If this data is encrypted, then nobody can decrypt or fetch the information which is communicated through this network. That's why application layer security and network layer security, which basically provide the basis of routing, and routing play an important role to select forwarder to forward any data packets from source to destination. That's why in security concern, these two layers play a very important role. In these two layers, another concept which basically we discussed in previous slides is not more suitable in case of wireless environment, because sometime whenever any application decide to use digital signature, so each and every node identity and authentication is carried out before designing any network or communicating any data to the receiver. That's why these all techniques, which is PKI based or digital signature based, is not more suitable in case of wireless network. That's why this trust management concept is more beneficial whenever we want to provide security for both layers, application as well as network. So in my view, the trust-based computation is more suitable mechanism to provide the security to any type of method. What is trust? Trust is our subjective expectations. An agent has about another's future behavior based on the history of their encounters. Means what any node is basically do in previous history is basically utilized to compute his trust, and this trust is utilized to choose any forwarder node. So trust is built based on past interaction and experience. Trust is considered as direct trust and indirect trust. So what is direct trust? Direct trust is that in which a user or node provide the related data for trust computation, and whenever we use we basically talk about indirect trust, means the actual node is not provide the data or history of node. Any trusted neighbors is utilized to provide details regarding neighbor node, that this node is trusted or not. Means direct, we basically consider node itself, and indirect, we
1 minute,
use
sir. Hello.
trusted neighbor node to check the
Kindly
trustworthiness of
all the
uh,
participants, please
designated.
mute yourself.
In the case of, this is also called recommendation trust. Trust play a very important role in ad hoc network. This is whole trust management process. There are 4 steps in trust management process. First is trust initiation. Initiation
कल
means
फॉर्म ले लेते हैं और
identified the
मैक्सिमम
parameters
परसों तक
on which we compute the trust of any node. This process is also known as bootstrapping. After that, second is evidence space. When the evidence
Rakesh, sir, please unmute yourself.
sorry,
You
I'm
have been
muted. There is any issue?
No, just you will start. Unmute yourself and start.
Can I continue?
Yes, please continue.
Okay. So this is first step is trust initialization. Initialization means we basically identify the parameters. For computation of trust. And after that, second step is evidence space. In evidence space, we basically receive direct or indirect trust values of nodes and aggregate these values. So evidence space is only utilized to capture the value of trust based on the parameter which are we basically consider in trust initialization. After evidence space, we basically use trust space. Trust space is nothing. It is basically a step whenever we basically decide what process we use for computation of trust, what are the threshold values, on which value we basically consider a node as a trusted node, on which value we basically consider the node as a untrusted node. And last and almost very important concept is decision making. In this, we basically use some techniques which are basically use some techniques which are compute the trust which are received in evidence space, and on this computation decision making processes performed. Decision making means we basically decide that this node is trusted or this node is not trusted. The trusted node is utilized for forwarding data packets and untrusted node is blocked for communication. So these are 4 phases: trust initialization, evidence space, trust space, and decision making. Trust initialization, as I've already discussed, trust initialization is the first step. When 2 nodes start interaction first time, they have either no information or very less information about other nodes. To decide trust, based on this, these nodes are categorized as trusted, non-trusted, and unidentified. So this status is basically identified that on which parameter is basically we consider node as trusted, non-trusted, or unidentified. Evidence space means can be gathered directly or indirectly. Directly means which are gathered by direct observation, and indirectly means values are recalculated which increase or decrease value. Indirect evidence are those which are gathered through other observation. Other observation means other nodes observation. Then trust space, trustworthiness is calculated by individual node because there is no centralized node. So in trust space, we basically not compute trust. we basically assign any technique, which may be machine learning techniques, which may be fuzzy technique. So we assign some technique. Based on this technique, we provide the parameter values, and after execution of these values, decision making process is performed. So the last step is decision making. So in trust management, decision is dependent on the kind of communication, a set of trustworthy nodes, and updated based on the result calculated in previous phase. The decision-making process will classify the node as trustworthy or non-trustworthy. Then these are stages of trust management. Whenever we compute trust, so first we basically classified this trust management procedure in 5 dimensions: trust composition, trust formulation, trust calculation, trust propagation, and trust updation. This is all about, maybe it is not properly visible, this is all about the procedure. What is trust computation, composition, what is trust formulation, computation, and propagation. In short, trust composition means we basically define the parameters on which we basically compute the trust. Trust formation means what type of procedure we basically use to identify the values of these given parameters. Trust computation means on values received at the time of trust formation, we basically use some technique to compute the predicted value that this node is trusted or not. Trust propagation means we basically use some another recommendation system or reputation based system to verify our computation. And then last is trust updation, means this is a continuous process. Maybe one time a node is trusted, but after some specific time period, this node is changed the behavior to untrusted. So this is continuous process. So we basically use this trust updation process, which periodically update the trust values of the nodes. So this is whole process of the trust management. The first is trust composition. It refers to the components which are to be considered for trust computation. It is divided in 2 parts: quality of service and social trust. Quality of service means the parameter, network parameters are basically used to compute the trust value, such as node reliability, delay, processing time, to node competency. These parameters are basically used as a trust parameter. And second is social trust. Social trust means whenever any another node is provide the basis for trust computation, there's a social relationship such as privacy, honesty, friendship, similarity, and selfishness of any node within the proximity. So these parameter is treated as social trust. So in trust composition, we basically define such type of parameters, some based on network operations, such as node reliability, packet drop rate, such type of things, and some recommendation behavior based, such as what is privacy concern, what is honesty concerns. So these type of trust parameters are identified in trust composition. After that, trust formation. Trust formation means on the basis of these trust parameter, which is identified in trust composition, we use some mechanism to find out the value of these parameter. So there are 2 concepts used in this trust formation procedure. First is based on observation. We basically the node itself or any neighbor node calculate the trust value of another node based on social or QS parameter. A node can calculate trust for another node in the network by three ways. First is direct, then indirect, or through recommendation. Direct means the truster node observe the behavior of node when having interaction with that node. Means if we want to compute the value of trust value of my proximity or neighbor node, then we interact with each other, and in interaction that values are basically communicated. So this is direct observation. Indirect observation means we basically gain values from another node regarding our neighborhood. Means we basically such as we know that one node is already treated as trusted node, so we maybe utilize this node to provide the observation regarding my proximity. So this type of observation is known as indirect observation. And then finally, recommendation. Recommendation means any another node based recommend node as a trusted node. So this is recommendation. Then next is based on property. So trust of network node can be calculated based on number of properties, which is classified in two classes, means single trust or multi-trust. Single trust means one trust property is being considered, and multi-trust means multiple trust property is basically captured, and on the basis of these multiple trust values, we find out the average of trust. Maybe sometime one parameter is in lower side, but other parameters are high side. Then we also treated node as the trusted node. So trust computation, the next step is trust computation. Trust computation means we basically use some techniques to predict or to aggregate the result of these trust value and define any node as a trusted node or not trusted node. Means we define the trustworthiness of the node. So there are two type of concept used in trust computation. Means trust prediction. Prediction is a technique to predict trust among node by using the past and current behavior. And trust aggregation means aggregation method are used to calculate trust when trust of network node is propagated through multiple paths. Means we basically design a model based on the parametric value we receive in trust formation. Then this concept is known as trust prediction. And whenever we utilize multiple type of parameters, and through any type of algorithm we calculate the average of that, and on basis of this average we basically do the decision. Then this type of concept is known as trust aggregation. Then next is trust propagation. It is a technique through trust of network nodes are propagated in the network that this node is this node is trusted. Trust propagation is used to avoid the recalculation of trust for a node again and again. Means, for example, if we calculate the trustworthiness of my neighbor, then we propagate this trustworthiness information throughout the network. That's why there is no another node is consume their energy to calculate the trustworthiness of this specific node. That's why we basically propagate the trustworthiness of node throughout the network. So we utilize two type of concept, distributed and centralized. In distributed, we basically recommend the trust value of node to the entire network, and in centralized means we one by one we basically propagate this information throughout the network. And next and last part is trust updation, means we basically time-based, means periodically we compute this trust periodically and update this trust value in a data structure and propagate throughout the network. So there are two type of concept used. Time-based means whenever we update the trust values periodic basis, then this known as time-based. And when we basically update the trust value on happening of any event, this known as event-based. So there are various methods used for this trust computation process, such as fuzzy model, Bayesian trust model, game theory model, etc. So I think my time is over, so that's why I'm not discuss these models in details. So we basically such type of models such as fuzzy model to compute the trust, Bayesian trust model, game theory model, subjective trust model, weightage-based Markov chain model, beta distribution model. So these type of models are basically used for computation purpose, but the only difference in computation process, the trust composition, trust formation, these steps are common in each and every models. Thank you. These are conclusive remarks, which I already discussed and previously. To prevent, manage from various attacks due to node misbehaving, selfishness, trust management in the network can play a significant role. This scheme can help to identify malicious and non-cooperative nodes in the network, which basically utilize to enhance the network lifetime also. It is highly dynamic in nature, which involve more uncertainty and high chances of information loss. Hence, the use of trust management scheme can be beneficial. Various trust management techniques provide capability to handle these type of uncertainty, non-cooperativeness, and frequent behavior issues. Thank you from my side.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir, for your
Ms.
valuable...
Anita, your voice is not coming. Maybe some issue from my side. I'll check.
Sir, kindly unshare your screen.
Ma'am, please share the.
Okay. Okay.
Sir, are you audible, sir?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir, for your valuable information regarding for trust-based immune system for secure communication in wireless network. It will definitely help us in future. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Dear participant can ask the question.
Any participant, if any questions, you can ask with the speaker.
You can write the question in text box.
Hello.
Please.
Yes, please go ahead. Just raise your hand. Raise your hand so that we can unmute. Okay, so you will send your questions directly to the chat box. We will send it to Dr. Galav, and they will probably answer the questions.
Dear participant, kindly fill the feedback form that is available on the chat box. We will provide the e-certificate to the participant who will fill the feedback form. I would like to invite convener of international webinar, Mr. Vukul Vashne, Assistant Professor of Computer Department, to deliver the vote of thanks. Sir, please.
Hello, am I audible? One thing I would like to add before vote of thanks is that the scope of wireless networks is so much that trust have been developed for network security. I think we see that in human immune systems. I think my voice is. Hello. Okay. Have you seen human immune system? You know that in human immune system also there are cells. Some cells will be selfish. Sometimes whenever the disease occurs. So like in wireless networks also, the artificial intelligence based algorithms would be written in order to acquire that selfish cells. So AI algorithm model are very popular in wireless networks, and nice talk by Dr. Galav. And I thank Dr. Galav for such a nice and informative talk. And now it's time for vote of thanks. Hello, am I audible? Okay, now it's time for vote of thanks. Good evening, everyone. It's pleasure to be a part of this international webinar as convener of. First of all, I would like to thank the management of IPM College, Secretary Shri Anupam Goyal sir, and Executive Director Ma'am Professor Dr. Sugandha Goyal behind the motivation in conducting this international webinar. I would like to thank Professor Shashank Chaudhary sir, Dean Academics, IPM Group of Institutions, for his constant motivation and implementation in conduct of this webinar. Apart from that, I would also like to thank Mr. Naveen Kumar, HOD Computer Applications, and the entire computer application faculty team who have worked very hard to make this international webinar a successful event. This webinar is being conducted under the aegis of Institution Innovation Council, IPM College Ghaziabad, and in association with CII and YI. I would like to thank the participants across India and globe, especially from Uzbekistan, Philippines, USA, Nigeria, Zimbabwe, Indonesia, Kenya, Egypt, Vanuatu, etc. About 500 registrations have been done from faculty, research scholars, students from India and across the globe. Last but not the least, I would like to thank the resource person, Professor Galav from G.L.A. University Mathura, for his knowledgeable and informative talk. Thank you all. I would like to communicate one thing more, that we are having one international conference you see onto the screen. We are organizing one international conference in computing and data science, AEACDS 2023. It is in online mode. The brochure is on your screen. The research papers and abstracts are welcome. The last date is 30th November. You can send your abstracts. Students can send their workable projects and the bibliography, abstracts, etc. They will be considered. And also this brochure can be mailed all of the participants. And this conference is on 15th December 2023. So you can see on your screen some glimpses and the brochure of this conference. So all of the participants who have joined, they can send their abstracts in the field of computing, data science, AI, ML, IoT, and several types of computing and data science fields, which we have included in this conference. So thank you, Professor Galav, and thank you very much. Over to you,
Thank
Anita.
you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Galav, sir. Our dear participant can fill the feedback form available in the chat box.
All of the participants who are here will switch on their videos for a group photograph. All the participants who are here, kindly switch on their videos for a group photograph. All the participants, please switch on their videos for a group photograph. ये अनीता मैम को जरा स्पॉटलाइट से हटा दीजिए, पिन हटा दीजिए इनको.